Hey, what's up guys? In this video tutorial I will be showing you how to make a custom Google Maps icon using nothing but Photoshop. And what's cool about it is you can use the base that we're going to make and apply different icons to the base and use clipping mask to create an entire icon set if you so choose. So let's get into it. This is what we're going to be making. As you can see, it's got the little street lines and the little building and block segments and land versus city blocks or whatever. So it's not completely unrecognizable. Like a user wouldn't come across it on their device and be like, "What is this? I have no idea what this icon is." Like at first glance, you know that that's a Google Maps themed icon. So the key is to keep it simple. Use similar colors and things like that. So let's get into it. Open up Photoshop and create a new document. We'll name it Maps Icon, and we're going to do 512 by 512 pixels. First thing we want to do is select our rounded rectangle tool, which is usually hiding in the tools panel over here. If you hover and long click your mouse, it'll come up here, second one down, and click in the center of your artboard. And for this tutorial we're going to do a 490 by 490 square with a radius of 66 pixels. And to center it, let's give it some color so we can see what it looks like there. Center it, hold Control and hit A, and then tap V to bring up your Move tool, and then up in this top panel right here by Window, you see these little tools help us center everything. Now hit Control D to deselect. Hide the background. Alright, now give the shape you just made a gradient by going down here and click FX, Gradient Overlay. Click the gradient color, double click on this little stopper, and we're going to go C5, C5, C5. And for this one, we're going to do a little bit lighter with a D1, D1, D1. Just a tad bit lighter there. And everything else set to default. Blend mode is normal. Okay, go ahead and make a copy of that by holding Control and tapping J on the keyboard and hide them. We're going to use that later. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to make the little streets, and to do that we're going to use just the regular rectangle tool and click somewhere outside of the artboard and drag. And you don't want to make them too fat or too skinny, you want them just right. Now hold Control and hit T. Now while holding Shift, rotate it at 45 degrees, hit Enter, tap V to bring up the Move tool, click on the shape and move them around. About there. Looks good. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to copy this about 4 more times, and we're just going to rotate it. So Control J, with Control held T. Now switch to Shift and click and rotate 90 degrees. Hit Enter. And let's see, let's do this dude right up against these corners, but not right. Yeah, just like that. And select the rectangle 1 copy and just keep on making copies with Control J, Control T to transform, and rotate again at about 90. Enter to commit, and then bring it just a little bit off center. Now if you want to just keep making copies of stuff, the easier way is actually to hold Alt with the Move tool selected and then just click and drag one of the shapes. So that's what I'll be doing in case you're wondering from now for these last two. Click and do that. Control T to transform it. rotate it. Oop, too far. About 90. And then just make sure it intersects with that first one we made right there. Cool, looks good to me. Alright, now make a new layer by selecting new layer down here by the trash can. Select rectangle tool again. Now we're going to fill in this area with the brown. So let's go ahead and drag something out here. And hit Control T. 45-degree angle. And just make sure it's underneath all of these. Control T. Stretch it out. I'm holding shift while doing all this stretching so it doesn't blow it completely out of proportion on me. Okay. And we're going to put him all the way underneath all those other ones. And for his color, it's going to be a nice light brown by the color of A6. Oops. Make sure the hex code selected. It's A6917D. And that puts a nice little brown there. Now we can color these rectangles, and we're going to do the first two, that yellow. So go ahead and hold Control and click on both of the layers. And go up to their fill. Click on the color picker. And the yellow that I use is D7D253. And select the remaining street layers. And we're going to make, let's see, AE, maybe? Yeah. Okay. Do AE, AE, AE for the other streets. Make a nice little gray that sort of pops off there. Okay, now let's rename all of the streets. Let's number them. Number them 1, 2, 3, so on. Doing that because it kind of matters where they're placed in there. Almost right about there. So we're going to take number 2 and put it on top. And then 1 right below number 2. And then 3 in between 5 and 4. Yep, okay. Now select number 2 and hold Control and click rectangle 2. Or is it Control and Shift? Maybe that's just an illustrator anyway. Select all of the shapes we just made and hold Control and tap G to group them. Right click on that group and select Merge. And now we're going to bring up our base copy that we made earlier. Bring him back into the picture. Right click and rasterize layer style. And then reselect the group. Right click and create clipping mask. And that clips everything to the base. Now we are going to do the little location indicator. So select the ellipse tool, which is over by the rectangle tools, and over here on the artboard hold shift, then click, and then after you've clicked hold alt along with shift, and it'll create a nice little perfect circle from the center for you. So just depending on how big you want it. And we're going to give this a gradient fill. So select the fill and come over here to the third option, which is the gradient. And let's see what. The first color, we're going to do the hex code of 88 ADC 5. second color. The 8-4 B1 D1. Subtle gradients. Yay. Okay, now we're going to give it also a drop shadow at 37% opacity. And at 6 pixels distance. And 24 pixels size. And we're going to give it the color of 34, 34, 34. Lighten it up a little bit more. And if you want, you can actually even put an outer glow. Change the blend mode to multiply. Change the color to a bluish. But I chose not to do that, but you can play with the outer glow and other styles if you'd like on that. Oh, whoops. Need to commit my changes. So redo that in speed. Okay. All right. Now that we've got the location indicator out of the way, we're going to make a mask that's going to go over it, and it's going to kind of brighten things up just a little bit here in the center, and also give it some lighting effects around the edge. And at the end of it, we're going to give a drop shadow to the entire icon that will kind of make it stand up just a little bit and sort of reverse the Google Android guidelines. You'll see what I'm talking about here in a second. Go ahead and select the base that we haven't rasterized yet and copy it again. And move it above everything till it looks like this. And right click, clear its layer style. And we're going to give it a gradient overlay that is foreground to transparent. I want it to be all the way white. All the way white to transparent. Radial 90 degrees, 150% scale. Select OK. Now go up to filter, noise. This is optional. I just like to do this. Rasterize it now. And what noise does is it makes it fuzzy if you add a whole lot. But what I like to do is add a very little bit. So around 4 or 5% noise looks alright. So now it looks like that. And with this, what we're going to call the mask layer. Selected, go and put the opacity at about 10-11%. Oh. Yeah, it has no fill. Anyway. Let's play with it a little bit, darken it up, lighten it up. You can even move it around. Move it around if you'd like. Stretch it out. If you want to do something like stretching it out to lighten that up, though, just go ahead and make sure you create a clipping mask. To that. Boom. Okay, now with that, with the mask, what you can also do, sorry, let me move that back and resize that accordingly. sorry about that. Alright, now we can even do some lighting effects with the bevel and emboss, if I'm saying that right. Options up here. If you do an inner bevel with a soft chisel, why is nothing happening? Oh, it's because I still have it clipped. Sorry. Alright, go back to the bevel. For some reason, nothing is happening here. Anyway, that's not too important. I mean, that's not even on the final one that I showed you earlier. It was just a cool way to light it up. Anyway, now that we're to this point, forget about the bevel and emboss for now, apparently. It worked just fine on the first couple times I did this earlier today, but it's messing with me now. But anyway, go ahead and select the original base that we created and give it its final drop shadow. For this one, we're going to make the color 595957, and its opacity will be 45%, 90-degree angle without global light, and the blend mode set to multiply, and the distance and size both set to 5. And there you have it. That's the maps icon. Now, to show you what I'm talking about, if you wanted to just use this and make a whole bunch of different icons with the mask and the two base layers still showing, you can add, like say if you go to the market, or the Play Store, sorry, and download some icons, you can just place them in here. Let's see. Oh, those aren't Play Store icons. There they are. Okay. You just right click, download their icon, place it, whatever, stretch it out, and then draw over it with the pen tool. Which is better to do in Illustrator, but you can, draw over it. And whatever. And then you can go about your making your icons that way as well. Yeah, I won't do a tutorial on the pen tool in Photoshop because it's just terrible. Maybe in Illustrator once I get better at it. But that's it. With those techniques, like I said, with just clipping everything to this base with this mask over it, you can add different gradients to the base, different effects to the mask to create an entire set of icons. And if you want an example, you can take the Minimo set of icons that I did. I just made one base and then drew the logo, or icon rather, in Illustrator, and then brought it over here into Photoshop and clipped it to the base, and that's it. So I hope you learned something. Hopefully this wasn't too disorganized for you. And be sure and leave comments below if you know of a better